Each and every Thursday, sportsmemo.com goes back in time and you can get daily pick packages priced for only $5. And yes, for those wondering, that includes any 5% best bets normally priced at $30. This is the real Throwback Thursday. As an added bonus, all first-time customers will be credited $25 in wager bucks after those initial $5 purchases. So each and every Thursday, make sure you go to sportsmemo.com. Get your favorite capper's best bet for only $5.
All right, here we go. Welcome into February. Can't believe it. February 1st, 2021. It is time for another edition of the College Basketball Tip-Off Show. It is powered by WagerTalk.com. And interesting card tonight. Limited, but we got 4 games that we want to break down for you. And those 4 are going to include, of course, Texas Tech and OU. We're going to touch base on UCF and Memphis. We're also going to talk a little Duke taking on the University of Miami, plus Loyola Chicago taking on Missouri State. 4 games. And, of course, our panel here, one of the very best on this $9 Monday here at Wager Talk and SportsMemo.com. Welcome in Brian Leonard back to the show. Of course, Dave Koken, as well as Ralph Michaels. And just a note here, guys, last time we spoke to you, the best bet run continuing to be pretty good here on the show. Now 16-2-1, guys. That is right, 16-2-1 over the last week here on the College Basketball Tip-Off Show. So great job by everybody involved, including Friday's Stetson play by Ralph, the gold sheet coming through. I'm apparently way too close to Dave Koken because now my games are getting canceled. So it's all good stuff. It happens. It happens to the best of us, but we are certainly glad that you are here. Let's say hello to the fellas. Brian Leonard, my friend, welcome back. It's been a little while. How you been? And what do you got going on at Wager Talk right now?
Yeah, I'd like to thank you for putting me on the senior edition here on Monday. Ralph is the young guy in the group. Yeah, I've got a nice 3-pack of hockey. Hockey's going really well, starting to see it very well. A nice 3-pack for only $9 on Monday. And I've got 1 play up in basketball action, college basketball, and that's also $9. So great time to be getting our selections. I'd like to congratulate Ralph Michaels. He's undefeated in the month of February so far.
Oh, that's right. A little early game there for Ralph Michaels. And Ralph, congratulations on the win early on here today with the Citadel. But how's your weekend, man? And what do you got going on in this $9 Monday?
Good. Nice 8-3 weekend in college basketball. On a very happy run with the way the games are going. Couple half-point losses even with that record. So 4% best bets in college basketball, 19-6, 76%. I do have a 4% college hoops play up tonight for $9. But let's give the stage to the main man today. So I heard a rumor there's a big NHL 5% play from Mr. 5% himself, Dave Koken.
Yeah, let's hurry up and get this out here, Dave, before the game gets canceled. We are talking about a 16-2 run on 5% plays right now with you. 80% overall in 2020 on your 5% plays. 2-0 so far this year. It is $9 money, which means this 5% play, and it's only the first one in over a year, I believe, in the NHL. It's $9 right now at WagerTalk.com. It's a ridiculous run, but congratulations, man. Looking forward to this game tonight. What else you got going on at Wager Talk?
I've got a free play on another hockey game, so you can check that out. I didn't play any college basketball today. A few games I had leans on, and we'll talk about those, but nothing came up as a play for me, so I'm not going to force anything. I don't like doing that. And one quick correction, I did have one NHL 5% play in 2020. It was in August out of the break-in in the bubble. It was on Calgary, and they won. So 1-0 in 2020 on those. And this one just they don't come up that often. Where I've got a series of categories where I do the check marks, and usually won't see a game where they almost all come up on one side, but this one did. So it's like, okay, let's go out there and fire on it, and hopefully it works.
Guys, and right now it is $9. Wager Talk, right now go to WagerTalk.com, $9 Monday. All the best bets up at Wager Talk and Sports Memo. $9. Go get Dave's play right now. Be on the right side of history here, guys. Go get it for $9 at WagerTalk.com. Let's take a quick look at the Twitter handles of these gentlemen quick as well. Always a good follow across the board, at B Leonard Sports, at Dave Koken, at Cal Sports LV. All very entertaining, very informative guys. Make sure you are tailing them on Twitter. Now let's take a look.
Hey Joe,
here.
I need to make a point there.
Go ahead.
I am sitting at 21,966. I would sure like to be at 22,000 Twitter followers by the time the show's over.
Well, listen, we can make that happen for you. By the time we're done here over the next 23 and a half minutes, you guys spread the word, get Ralph to that next level so we don't have to hear him talk about it anymore. Perfect. Let's take a look at what happened 24 hours ago. Would be fantastic with some of the top performers around college hoops. And Elon, Delaware, second game back there. Elon having a little COVID issues this year, but didn't seem to matter much there. When we take a look, of course, at some of these covers from the weekend, very interesting stuff. Temple, big favorite there, didn't work out so well for them with Tulane. And Dave, you watch. We've talked about UNLV on this show a lot. I didn't understand the line at all weekend. Game 1 was like 2.5. Game 2 was 5. I didn't understand any of that. But Nevada with a big cover there against UNLV yesterday.
Well, and UNLV's best player is hurt. He's had an ankle problem and was off a really bad game against Utah State and didn't play. Bryce Hamilton didn't play yesterday, so that wasn't good. I don't know what his status is for the rematch, which is tomorrow, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And that's seven straight for the team from the North against the team from the South in that rivalry. So it hasn't been going the Rebels' way against the Wolfpack.
Loyola 2, Missouri State, game number 2 yesterday, guys. We're going to go ahead and game number 1 yesterday, rather. We're going to go ahead and talk about that second game coming up here on the show. Some of the bigger covers, actually some of the biggest overs, rather, and unders from yesterday as we take a look here. Maybe Ralph, Houston, SMU. Was that a bit of a shock for you? How under that went?
No, you watch Houston's defense. It is elite. I mean, they are Power 5 caliber type defense. So, and Northwestern Rutgers, again, another game you expected to be on the low side. So, to me, the lows turned out the way I thought they would.
All right.
We did have one historical note yesterday of sorts. After going 13-0 against the spread and 15-0 overall,
Mm-hmm.
Drake managed to win their game, barely, but they did not cover the spread for the first time all season yesterday. The Drake money train finally comes to a halt for one game.
Yeah, they were able to pull out the win, though, but they are back in action today as well. Let's start with one of these games, guys. Oklahoma, Texas Tech, a game a lot of people have circled on the calendar trying to figure out which team to go with here. Texas Tech off of that crazy win over the weekend in which they back and forth. LSU, they are laying 5. At least it opens up that way here. Total 138. So, Brian Leonard, let me start with you here, my friend. 2 heavyweights in the Big 12. Who do you like more in this matchup?
Yeah, I think this line's taking a little bit of action now. It's up to 7.5 on Texas Tech, and that would have been the side I would have leaned if the show was a little bit earlier. It's gotten to the point now where it's keeping me off the game. These two teams played earlier. Texas Tech wins that game. And what was interesting about it was Texas Tech is ranked 19th in free throw rate on the season at 41.6%. Well, they only managed a 17.5% in their previous meeting. So they weren't able to get to the foul line. They still got to the victory. I think they'll have a little bit better success in that regard tonight. Oklahoma, to me, is just a bad spot for them. They just beat Alabama, Texas, and Kansas. I love the coach, obviously. Used to be here at UNLV. I think Oklahoma's a very good team. But, to win 3 games in a row, Alabama, Texas, and Kansas, and then play again at Texas Tech with that defense that they have, I think it's going to be a tough spot here for Oklahoma. Like Texas Tech, but the late line movement has priced me out of this game.
Red Raiders, that was impressive. Come from back and forth. They led against LSU. Dave, it was a crazy game for them, but they go into this one back in the W column. How do you see it?
That was an incredible cover by Texas Tech because they scored the last 12 points. looked like they were going to lose the game. They got the last 12 points, and they covered because somebody at LSU fouled with 1 second to play, and they hit the 2 free throws. The interesting thing, by the way, on LSU, they get outscored 12-0 at the end of that game to lose. The prior game, LSU won on an 18-0 run to end the game to get the win and cover. Unfortunately, I was on them in that game. That was one of my luckier wins of the season. This is the math here says Oklahoma, but the situation, I think, strongly points to Texas Tech. And I'm kind of with Brian in that I'm not going to play it because the numbers just gotten out of hand and I just didn't get the good price. But it's going from 5 to 7.5. Oklahoma is off an extraordinary, just an absolutely extraordinary performance on Saturday. Really shorthanded, and Lon Kruger's guys went out there and played a phenomenal defensive game in a victory against Alabama. That was a really big game for the books, by the way, because the betting market was extremely heavy on Alabama in that game. It was almost a standalone TV game, which you don't see too many of those in college basketball. And it was getting all the betting action, heavy volume, and it was all on Alabama. So that game really worked out for the books. I don't know what's left in the Oklahoma tank. So even though Texas Tech is coming off a crazy win of their own, I think the situation favors them, and Oklahoma's still not healthy for this game. Just too many adverse circumstances here for Oklahoma. I'd have to side with the Red Raiders.
Listen, they have been, the Sooners have been on fire, Ralph. There's really not much to say, and it's been up and down, obviously, with Austin Reeves for them, but they are on fire here. Hard to go against them, but the market seems to be doing just that.
Well, 8-1 against the spread their last 9. The only ATS loss, a half-point non-cover against Baylor. So that is as impressive as it gets. I am going to echo Dave's sentiment that what Lon Kruger did against Alabama without Austin Reeves and with Alondas Williams out, we're talking 2 players that both started each of the first 14 games. That was the games they missed. So you have 2 14-game starters both out against Alabama, and you do pull that win. Unfortunately, and the reason we have a line move is both Reeves and Williams are out again today. So now you're missing 2 starters, including Reeves to match up against McClung, and you're going on the road. So, you know, the situation clearly playing on the road favors Texas Tech. But again, at this number, I'm not going to play it because this Oklahoma team, if you can hold Alabama to 38.9%, there's no telling what you can do against this Texas Tech squad. I lean the under. I think the offensive power missing with Reeves and Williams is going to make a big difference in this game. Side adjusted, but with both of these guys out.
It's going to be a hell of a game.
I want to mention one other thing, because we talk about this a lot. And you'll see this on such a frequent basis where the team that's shorthanded makes a huge effort in one game. We saw it with Oklahoma. We saw it yesterday with NC State. Daniels went down with the ACL injury earlier in the week, and it looked like a terrible spot for them against Syracuse to go out there and win the game. We saw it in the hockey yesterday with the Minnesota Wild. Very shorthanded for their game against Colorado, and they pull the upset with an overtime win. But the longer you go without those key guys, the more likely there's going to be a regression. And I think that Oklahoma fits that bill here. Tremendous effort on Saturday. I don't know if they can duplicate that in this game.
Yep, Stanford comes to mind too as well. UCLA, that first game too last week we talked about. But you're absolutely right. It's either going to galvanize everyone or it's going to go terrible the other way, though. And it looks like they had that game, Oklahoma, over the weekend against Alabama. All right, the second game on the card here, guys. Let's take a look. UCF taking on Memphis in this one. Memphis opens up as a big favorite here, laying 9. Total 131. Ralph, let me go to you here. We've talked about Memphis. It's kind of a tale of 2 halves of the season, really. They're really starting to come into their own. They actually beat this UCF team by 2 points on the road earlier this year. So 9 points. Was it not?
No. They beat South Florida by 1.
Yes.
This is they're playing UCF back to back. the next two games. So they haven't met before.
And this is game one, Ralph. So it's a 9-point number here. Seems a little big, and it continues to trend that way. So how do you like this matchup here tonight?
Oh, there's only one way I can go. You guys know that I've been a Memphis fan. Listening to what the coach has said, he talked about SMU. He talked about how bad they played in the first half. And, it's so refreshing. I know Dave doesn't like him as a coach, but as far as a coach relating to the media, he's just so honest. He goes, listen, guys, we had a horrible first half. The second half, I could only trust a handful of guys. I shortened my rotation. We outscored them by 16. We had a 64-63 lead. We lost the game on a last-second shot. They did cover that game. And he said, if you guys had played like you did in the first half and the second half, we would have won by 15 against SMU. This team's defense is just continuing to impress me. 41.7% at SMU. The offense is getting much better, as he's talked about. He's gone to more of a progression offense. We talked about unders with Memphis. He's now under 7 of the last 8 games because he's almost going to that Princeton-style offense. I like under again here. You have a slow-tempoed UCF. We have this Memphis team. He played a lot of kids that had a lot of minutes in that second half. He may not play him against UCF. You're not going to blow out a team, I don't believe, if you're going to face them again in 2 days. All of that has me on the under.
Brian, UCF, they almost pulled off the upset on the road against Wichita State over the weekend, but they have this season pulled these upsets. Auburn, they've beaten Florida State, Cincinnati in an underdog role. How do you look at this game when you match these two teams up at such a number?
Yeah, in regards to Rolf's total, the lines moved up to like 133 and a half, and I don't know if I buy that. I think the under is probably the way to go here. You take a look at the Gold Knights. You take a look at shot quality. There's a site out there, shotquality.com, does an excellent job of telling you how these teams shoot the ball from certain areas. And you always want to go against teams that shoot long 2-pointers. It's just the worst shot you can have in basketball action. And according to that site, and then once again, that's shotquality.com, UCF has been a lucky team with shot selection. They got a 4-7 record, but based on what they've done from those shooting from those ranges, they should only be 2.9 and 8.1. So they're a little bit overrated in that regard. There's a lot of talk about this Memphis defense. They're in the 95th percentile in shot quality defensively. Just one of the best defenses in college basketball. But the problem we have with Memphis, at least on the offensive side, is they rank 339th in free throw shooting. How does a team rank 339th in free throw shooting and you want to bet an over in that game, especially with this defense? I don't see it. I'm in agreement with Rob Michaels here. I like the under. I think this is the best way to play this game. Don't trust the Memphis offense. The defense is terrific, and the game is close coming down the wire. Do you really want a team shooting 61.2% from the foul line? The better play here is the under, in my opinion.
Gabe, what offense do you trust more in this one between UCF and Memphis?
Oh, I think Memphis is improving, as Ralph mentioned. Look, their athleticism is unquestioned. And defensively, they've been good all along. The offense was not good, but it's getting better. And I think that's the change in the offense that they've made in terms of their approach. And my knock on Hardaway is more inexperienced than anything else. I think he's getting better, and I think you're seeing him improve along with the team improving. I'm not crazy about UCF. They've been competitive, but they're not getting any wins. And at some point, I think they're going to start to get discouraged. That can happen to teams when they continually lose games that they've got a chance to win. And you look at this team right now; they've had a bunch of them where they were kind of in the game and then let it get away. And in a few games, they just weren't in at all. And here's the other thing: 2 of those 4 wins, one was against Auburn, and Auburn was a completely different team at the start of the season than they are now. And the other was against Florida State, or another was against Florida State. And Florida State was a completely different team, very inexperienced at the time, than they are now. I don't think they'd have much of a chance in either of those 2 games. So I don't really like this UCF team. Both teams are coming off tough losses, but I think the way Memphis closed their game was pretty positive. They almost pulled it out after being down quite a bit in the game against SMU. So I don't think that's a horrible loss for them. UCF goes all the way out to Wichita. And I mean, look, they're up 8 points with less than 4 minutes to go in the game, and they blew it and lost in overtime. I just think they're going to start getting discouraged, and it might start here. I think Memphis is going to nail them in one of these two games. It might be tonight.
It could very well be here, guys. 9 is where the number is holding strong right now for Memphis in this one. We're going to talk a little Loyola, Chicago, Missouri State, game number 2 here on a back-to-back in just a second. But we do want to remind you, of course, $9 Mondays at WagerTalk.com. And you are certainly want to go to each of these gentlemen pages as they have their best bets up, including Dave Koken's 5% NHL play is up. He had one last year. This is now the second one in just a year, and nobody has been more money on his 5% plays than Mr. Koken. So for $9, go grab the play right now at WagerTalk.com. Ralph's best bets up there. Brian Leonard's best bets are there, all for $9 at WagerTalk, guys. Go grab it. Let's take a look at this game number 2 here with Loyola Chicago. The Ramblers taking on Missouri State, and this yesterday was just a bloodbath, 72-46. They started out Loyola on a 22-2 run, and they never looked back from there. I think 15 guys played. I mean, they were bringing everybody in to this one. 8 points is the number. 135 as a total is what it opens up. So, Dave, let me start with you here. Do you believe Missouri State can, make adjustments enough to keep this one close?
No. Look, Loyola's just better than everybody in that conference. Drake is the one team that obviously would be the best matchup for them, and I guess most people, including myself, are anxious to see that later this month when they play 2 games at Drake. But unless Loyola decides to go out and get lazy and beat themselves, I don't know that maybe Missouri State can hang around, but I don't think they've got much of a chance to win the game. I mean, Loyola's just crushing teams right now. And it's one thing when you beat a team handily, but the other team can take something positive out of the game. I don't know. What can Missouri State take positive out of yesterday's game? Well, they lost the second half only by 1. The problem is they were down 25 at the half, so I don't think it much mattered. I'm not going to lay it here because it is potentially a little bit of a dead spot for Loyola. They could be overconfident here, but there's just no way I can play against Loyola in their current form. So it's a play the Ramblers or pass.
A lot of seniors on this team, Ralph. I remember when the season first started, you had talked about this team with the experience, and it's what are they on a 7-game streak now? Do you think they can keep it close, Missouri State?
No, I'm with Dave, and there's times when we look at what a team does with adjustments. Well, when one team shoots 53% and the other team shoots 27%. You almost got doubled on shooting percentage. I've never seen, maybe I'm sure there's some teams that have gotten doubled when Baylor plays a SWAC team, but 53% to 27%. It's just not close. Now, the only reason I didn't get it into my card is because when I looked what they did against Bradley, they had covered the first game against Bradley, then they played in back-to-back games, and they pushed that second game. And then Indiana State, they didn't cover both games either when they played them to back-to-back. So, I'm not going to quote Marco quite and say fat and sassy, but this team's got a lot of leeway. They could play probably at 80, 85% and still push this game or cover it. So only one way. No bounce back for Missouri State. I didn't get to the window, but it would be Loyola or pass for me.
Brian, I'm looking at this. I think it's 5 of their last 8 opponents have been held to 50 points or less here. So I don't know. Are you looking at the under? Are you looking at the side? How are you looking at this game?
Yeah, there's been a lot of talk about not being fully focused, but they're only favored by 8 points. So it's not a game where you got a 24-point favorite here that just loses interest here. If they're not paying attention, they could lose this game. I mean, it could happen. I don't think it will. But this is a 5th straight road game for the Ramblers, and they've won 11 of the last 12. And so much for the not wanting to blow out somebody in the first game they play, because they did just that. What concerns me from the Missouri State standpoint is Loyola only had 2 3-pointers in that game. That's their lowest output of the season. State weren't even hitting from distance to get that. It was all inside. They just dominated inside. And they rank in the 97th percentile offensively, 98th defensively in shot quality. This is a team in Loyola can go a long way come the March Madness. This is a team to keep an eye on. Missouri State's dropped 3 straight games when they stepped up in class against Drake and Loyola. But keep in mind, the toughest opponent they had prior to that was my 127th ranked Indiana State. So Missouri State was fine when they played the lesser teams, but they just can't compete against these better teams in this conference. With the number of 8, I think Loyola is probably the way to go here, especially when they didn't shoot that well from 3 last time out. But they've got really nothing to look forward to on the schedule. So it is the last game on the road trip, or last 5th straight road game. So that is somewhat a concern, but no way I want Missouri State here.
I want to mention one other thing.
Hey, Joe.
And just
Dave.
let me get this one out there. Loyola, he had the starters on the bench with 15 minutes to go in the game yesterday, so they're going to be fresh. And this drives me nuts about coaches sometimes. On the Missouri State side, Sharp and Mosley both played 35 minutes yesterday. Now, why would you have 2 of your best players on the court in a game that's a complete blowout when you have to come back and play again the next day? I think that's poor coaching. And those are little things you keep track of, because when it comes to tournament time, conference tournament time, coaching means a whole lot. And to me, coaches who don't know how to allocate minutes, they can be liabilities come conference tournament time. So that's a little thing to mark down for the future on Missouri State. That's a bad job by the coach.
Great point, Dave.
And I just, Loyola went 14 deep, so even the ball boy Jake Ballman got to make a Rudy appearance at the end. He played 2 minutes. But Brian pulled up a point about not blowing someone out in the first game. It is completely different when you have a 22-4 lead and a 41-16 lead at the half. When I talk about blowing out teams, I talk about a team up 20, making it up 40. Obviously, you're going to try 100% the first half of the game, no matter what. So there are plenty of blowouts in game 1. But again, in the second half, it was 31-30. Mm-hmm. So Loyola didn't go to blow them out. Like Dave said, they rested their starters. So that's the difference in when I talk about a team blowing someone out in game number 1.
Yep. Good stuff, guys. All right, one more game here on the board before we get to our best bets. And, of course, take a look at what our friends from the Gold Sheet have to say for a best bet here today. 16-2-1, guys, over the last week here on the show with those best bets. So looking forward to going through that with you in just a minute. Let's talk Duke versus Miami. And, Brian, I'm going to come back to you. This opened up 8.5. I'm seeing 11s all over the place right now as the money continues to come pouring in. I do see 136, so the total has come down here a little bit. Listen, Dukes, they're down the road for me here in Coral Gables today, but Miami is just a team that is in shambles. Injuries have decimated their season, decimated this team. They had a freshman league. It's just been an absolute disaster. Duke needs these kinds of games here and wins on their resume as they continue to try to get an at-large bid. How are you looking at this game tonight?
Yeah, there's a lot of money on Duke right now. I even see an 11.5 out there. It's a team right now that everybody thinks, oh, they're back. I don't think they're back. I just don't think they're very good this year compared to prior versions. They're only 1-3 straight up on the road. Now you're expecting them to go into Miami and win by double digits. Granted, Miami, as you mentioned, they've had some real tough situations with not having a lot of players, not being very deep. Miami coming off that blowout win, their biggest blowout of the season, beating Clemson, a team that's fading fast, just like Miami has. Miami does a nice job of shot quality ranking. They're in the 78th percentile offensively, 88th defensively. Duke on the season, 86 and 91. So they are better, but not a whole lot better. But a lot of that was when Miami had better players and were a fuller roster to play with earlier in the season. The thing that concerns me about Miami, if they fall behind here, is they rank 326th in three-point percentage offensively, 310th in allowing three-pointers. So Duke will have the big advantage from long in this game, which means if Duke falls behind, they'll be able to hit those shots. If Miami falls behind, they're screwed. So this could be a game that's close at the half. In the second half, I could see Duke pulling away. But now that we lost all that point spread value, 2.5, 3 points at this point, can't back Duke. Would prefer to play Miami, but just not going to do it in this game. I'm going to be sitting this one out.
Yeah, Ralph, I watched that game over the weekend, and they were able to score 54 points against the 114th ranked defense here in the country in Wake Forest. Where do points come from for Miami if you're thinking about taking them?
You mean shooting 39, 38, 37, and 43% the last 4 games isn't good? When you're allowing 53, 54, 52, and 41? Okay, Rob Vino, you needed to frickin' be on this show because Rob's going to say, all I read about is Coach K saying his defense is getting better, and I don't see it. They're allowing 50% every game. Well, Rob, let me point out, the last 5 games, they have improved every game. 50%, 46.2, 46, 43.7, and they held Clemson to 35.1. So Coach K was just a couple weeks early when he kept talking about how his defense looks like it's getting better. I'm gonna go opposite of what Brian said. I think Duke's gotten off to a couple good starts against Clemson and Georgia Tech. I think Duke gets off to a good start. I like Duke here in the first half, but with North Carolina on deck, now that game's not till Saturday, but you're coming off a Saturday, Monday situation. I expect him to play his guys early, jump out to a lead. I will take Duke in the first half, and that would be what I take out of this game.
Oh, like the angle there, Ralph. And Dave, no doubt, Duke has been getting better, but are they good enough, in your opinion, to be able to cover double digits?
Yeah, probably. I mean, the line got a little too high for me, so I'm not going to back it. But Johnson's playing well now, and that does transform the team. I mean, he's tremendously talented. And Miami's just out of players. Their 3 best offensive players are gone. Wong is playing on a bad ankle. I don't even know if he's going to play. Their assist-to-turnover ratio is awful. They're just a really bad team. I just don't see anything positive on them. So, to me, unless Duke has a bad game, I don't think Miami can stay with them for 40 minutes. And again, the only reason I hate playing games where I've lost the value, and this line took off pretty quickly yesterday, actually. So I'm staying out of it. But I think Duke's the right side in this one. Miami's just, they're a train wreck right now.
Yeah, it's a mess, and the total keeps coming down too as well. 139, I'm seeing 136, 136 and a half too in many places. So where are the points coming from, Miami? Nobody seems to know. All right, guys, before we get to our best bet section here, just a quick reminder. Again, it is $9 Monday. That is right, which means head over to WagerTalk.com right now. Best bets from Dave Koken, including his 5% NHL best bet tonight, just $9. Nobody, and I mean absolutely nobody, has been hotter with their 5% best bets. They don't come often, but when they do, guys, they cash. $9 right now at Wager Talk. Brian Leonard also ready to go, lock and loaded at Wager Talk. $9, his best bet. And Ralph, ready to go also tonight in college basketball. So plenty of opportunities to make it a profitable Monday, guys. Head over to WagerTalk.com. Take advantage of $9 Monday. All right, let's take a look at our friends from the Gold Sheet here and see where they're leaning here, Ralph. And it looks like, what a shock, Duke. They're going Duke here, Ralph, with just about everyone else who bet them and watched this line go through the roof. Not a shock here, Ralph.
Yeah, 5-0 for the Gold Sheet last week. So I'll be posting this. You can read the write-up. Follow me on Twitter at CalSportsLV. And if you haven't checked out the new Gold Sheet format, it's awesome. And, they probably write up on a Monday today. I think they had 3 or 4 key bets, and then they wrote up maybe 5 or 6 games where they just wanted to share some information. So, it's a valuable tool to not, not necessarily just blindly bet their plays, but just to read their write-up. And my Bruce Marshall and Tony do such a great job informing us of injuries and coaching situations and things that teams have changed.
All right. Well, Monday Fun Day, start of a new week. Let's keep it rolling here. 16-2-1 over the last week here with our best bets on the show. So, Brian Leonard, no pressure, man. No pressure. You were part of this last week. You started it off. So let us know, my man, where are you going best bet here tonight?
I think when we have a shorter schedule, we should get extra points for winning a game on a shorter schedule than a large schedule. It's only because I'm on Mondays. That's the only reason I say that. Anyway, I'm going to take a look in an headboard game. I'm going to take Prairie View A&M over Alabama State here. Alabama State's got 2 victories on the season. They beat Mississippi Valley State, the worst team in college basketball, and they beat Southern by 2. Now they're playing the best team they played all season, and that's Prairie View A&M. This Alabama State team is one of the worst shooting teams I've seen ever. And you take a look at the last 2 games from 2-point. This is 2-point shooting. 15 of 45, 14 of 40. This is a team that can't even score near the basket. Prairie View is one of those teams that's really playing well. 6-4. You say 6-4, okay. Well, they played some tough teams early in the season. They played Louisville, TCU. Since they've gotten into a conference action, they're a perfect 5-0 on the season. This is a team that's playing very well right now, and they're stepping down in class after playing some of the others. They're going to dominate this league after playing some tough teams early on. I think the line's a little bit cheap here. The defense has been terrific. Turnover percent, they're ranked 8th in the country, I believe, defensively in committing or forcing turnovers. Like this Prairie View team, just because they've only got a 6-4 record does not mean they can't blow out this team. I like the favorite here. I think it's a killing.
Number hovering right around that 16 mark, somewhere in there right now. Good stuff there, Bri. All right, Dave, in addition to your 5% best bet for $9 up at Wager Talk right now in the NHL, what'd you circle in college hoops tonight for us on the show?
Well, I didn't play this, and I came real close to playing this, and might be making a mistake not betting it, but look, this SIU Edwardsville team, this schedule, my word. They've just played 5 straight road games in 10 days. And they get a day off, and now they're back on the court tonight. They are finally back home. But, I mean, you talk about a team that's had the frequent flyer miles or frequent bus miles, however they travel around in the Ohio Valley. And they've got to play Austin Peay. SIU Edwardsville, on the one hand, they've improved some this year. They're 6-6, which isn't bad considering the history of that program, which is rather unfortunate. But, they beat Tennessee Martin, which can't play at all. They beat Eastern Illinois, which is down to like 2 guys at this point. Eastern Illinois is completely crippled. They have a win over St. Louis Pharmacy. They beat Northern Illinois, which was a mess, and fired their coach. They do have tonight a nice win at Morehead State. That was a really nice win. That was before the long break. I just don't know what's left in their tank. And Austin Peay's just better than they are. I mean, the Governors should be the fresher team. I just don't see this being close for 40 minutes. I think maybe SIU can hang in for a while, but I've got to go with Austin Peay to eventually pull away in this game. So we'll go with Austin Peay minus the points. Let me see if I can get a right number on that game.
I'm seeing 7 in a lot of places.
It's 6.5.
6.5. Even
you
better.
Want to point out it goes off in a half an hour, so make sure you get that game in.
That's right. I didn't notice that. 3
p.m. Eastern time for that, guys. All right, Ralph, where you going, my man? Where you pointing us to? It's got to be something in the 400s. 5. Are you going high school? What are you going?
Joe, first I want to mention that the Wager Talk College Basketball Stat Report got a fresh copy up today. So every record, every ATS number, every over-under number updated through games yesterday. You just go to WagerTalk.com, go to the Ralph Michaels page, and it's a free download. And Brian talked about Prairie View and conferences. And, when you're looking at these lower conferences, looking at conference-only stats is the most important and the only numbers you ever should be looking at. All of those stats there are conference-only stats, including points per game diff, rebounds per game diff, assists and steals as well. So a valuable tool. Joe, I emailed out this play, and a person that I send my plays to sent me back in the line, said, WTF, it is not April 1st, it is February 1st, because I sent out Mississippi Valley State, the absolute worst team in basketball. They are number 357. There is no question they are the worst team. Why am I doing them? There is actually value. They are 0-14 on the year. They have gone 1-7 against the spread. But this Grambling squad is 2-7 against the spread. They've played non-division foes. They have not beaten anybody by over 17 points per game. They have the 338 offensive efficiency. They are number 300 shooting field goals. They are not a team that is worthy of laying 25. So, boy, it's put a clothespin on, and it's going to be an ugly, ugly game. But there is actually value with Mississippi Valley State plus the points.
You have officially hit a new low, Michaels. You have hit a new low. We've seen it all. Now you're going Mississippi Valley State, too. Hey, listen, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. That's the way we're looking at it, which is why I'm also taking the under here in Loyola, Missouri State. When you keep opponents under 50 points, continue second game, I don't think there's going to be nearly as much energy there. Give me the under 135.5 in the Missouri State Loyola Chicago game. And a recap, guys, real quick. Ralph Michaels, it's a new low for him. Mississippi Valley State going for 3 touchdowns, a couple of maybe 2 safeties. You got Brian Leonard going to go Prairie View laying the 16. We've got Dave, and again, guys, that's 3 p.m. Eastern time. If you want to run and go, grab that. Austin P laying 6.5. I'm going with the under 135.5, Loyola Chicago, Missouri State. And the gold sheet, lay the 11 with Duke over Miami. Want to thank, of course, Brian Leonard for stopping by. Dave Koken, don't forget, $9 Mondays right now. You can go there, go get Dave's 5% NHL play. Brian's play is ready to go. Ralph is ready to go. And then, of course, make sure you hit that bell in the upper right-hand corner. Come back and join us again tomorrow as we get to do it all over again here with the College Basketball Tip-Off Show. So, fellas, thank you very much. Guys, good luck with your plays tonight. Come back and join us. We'll do it again tomorrow.
Tuesdays is known as $2 Tuesdays at WagerTalk.com and SportsMemo.com, where you can get the hottest handicappers, best bet, or daily package for only $2.